everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making with you sourdough sandwich bread, and so I just wanted to take you along in the kitchen as I did this really easy bread. You can pull your starter right out of the fridge to make this easy recipe. No stretching and folding required, no proofing required. It's a really simple recipe, so let's go make it. This recipe simply calls for 1 cup of sourdough starter, 1 stick of butter melted, 8 cups of flour, some salt. I actually don't really measure at this point the salt and the honey, but I like to put right around a tablespoon or 2 of salt, and then right around 1/4 cup of honey. And I mix it all together in this KitchenAid blender, and I'll add water at the very end, so it's roughly about 2 to 2.5 cups of water, and then you can mix it all together. I actually was only doing it in the KitchenAid mixer at first, and I would have the dough on my bread hook for about 9 minutes, but it actually burned my engine up in my KitchenAid maker, and decided that I was probably just gonna have to do this by hand. And so this particular video, you'll see me using my KitchenAid maker, but it's really on its last legs here in this video clip. Actually, it's struggling to get just going. And so I actually reverted to doing this bread in a bowl, and I will knead it with my hands for right around 3 minutes. And I honestly cannot tell a difference between the KitchenAid mixer and my hands. And so I'm probably just gonna stick to making this bread recipe in a regular bowl and knead it a few times with my hands and let it rise. So the process is you have it mix all together and knead your dough well, and then you'll cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise as long as you want it to. I usually like to do right around 10 hours, sometimes a little bit less. And then you'll take it out and you will go ahead and do a second rise in your bread loaf pans. I will show you a little bit about that more later in this video. But it's the first big bulk rise, and then you do a 2-hour second rise in the loaf pans. I over fermented one time and I let it go longer than 2 hours, and my dough completely fell in my loaf pans. The best part about this dough is it's so soft. It's like a cloud when you punch it down. And I love the way that the dough feels. It is not too sticky, it's just right. And so it's just so easy to work with, and it's such a forgiving recipe. I simply just get a little bit of butter on my hands and I rub it all around the loaf pans that I'm working with, and then I split the dough in half and form it into oval shaped loaves and let it rise for 2 more hours, covered usually with plastic wrap. I've done it with a tea towel before, but you just have to make sure that the tea towel is damp. Otherwise, your bread will have a hardened crust on the top, and so that's just preference on texture for me. A lot of times what I will do is I will start this bread recipe around 12 o'clock when it's lunchtime, and then I will let the dough ferment until about 8 p.m., sometimes 9, and then let it do its 2-hour double rise as you see right now. And then when it comes to be about 10 o'clock at night, sometimes even 10:30 or 11 when I'm headed to bed, I will go ahead and put these loaves that are completely risen and doubled in size in the fridge to let sit overnight. I will then wake up in the morning time and I will go ahead and bake those loaves when we are ready to make them. This is my morning time. I lit a candle. It was early in the morning, and my kids were still asleep, and I got my loaves out of the fridge, turned my oven on, and I baked them while I finished my quiet time. And I just really like this because the kids wake up to really fresh loaves of bread. They're great for breakfast, they're great for lunch that day when we make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and it just sets us up for a day of having fresh loaves of bread. So that's really the timeline I like to do with this bread. I'll start it at noon and then I'll end it in the morning the next day. I've even gone so far as to start it at nighttime, so I'll start it at like 8 p.m. and I'll let it do its bulk rise overnight, and then I'll do a 2-hour rise in the morning and still bake it in the morning. Either one works fine, but just really depending on schedule and such.